Welcome to BlueGoldNews.com coverage of West Virginia and San Diego at the NCAA tournament. I'm joined with CJ Harvey of WCHS TV8 and one of our former employees. Always happy to see them going on to bigger and better things. CJ, what have you seen so far from Marshall's players, West Virginia's players, in terms of all the hype around this game? I mean, obviously that's been a big focus for the fans everywhere. Does that carry over to the teams?
Yeah, I think a little bit. I actually think it's kind of funny because you've seen West Virginia on TV all season, a bunch of big Monday games, and, that means Marshall has kind of seen WVU on TV a lot. Whereas when you kind of talk to Javon Carter or somebody like that, I don't think they've seen Marshall play once. Not to say that Marshall has too many televised games or anything, but, I talked to Jared West for Marshall, freshman guard, and he started naming the roster, talking about Wesley Harris, who's going to guard Wesley Harris and things like that. So, I think they know the players. They kind of know the game, what's going on. And I think for Marshall's side, they are locked in. And, but I think that plays into their favor and vice versa. I think for West Virginia, it's kind of like, well, we don't know a ton, but maybe that plays into their favor too. They're not stressing over, not overly stressing, that none of them really know what a rivalry with Marshall feels like or really is. And so, I think both of them are just kind of playing, just not dumb, but they kind of are doing their own things. I don't think it's overly shocking from what I've seen, at least from the past few days, really today.
Yeah, one of the things that I was getting was, West Virginia's players are not, familiar with this.
Not at all.
They've got three guys that have actually played. Yep. They had a couple guys that were red shirts that were on the bench but didn't play. I don't know if they get that, if they understand that. Is that an advantage? This is an NCAA tournament game. Obviously, everybody's going to play hard.
Yep.
But, could Marshall have an advantage there just knowing what that's about, knowing how important that is to them, that they come out with that little bit of extra effort?
Maybe. And it's funny. They did. John Elmore, CJ Burks from Marshall played in that game, that last game, and that was John Elmore's second game with the Thundering Herd. Right. So that's to him, he's a different player.
Sure.
And CJ Burks basically played 0 minutes, and so they are completely different players to what they were, that time that they first saw West Virginia. So I think in both atmospheres, these two teams are far and apart on the two ends of the spectrum from where they were then and now. So I think that it's just. That was kind of the beginning of Press Virginia too back then. So it was kind of like they had not completely found their identities. So it's very interesting to see how almost at the peak level of two of these teams that you've seen. But I think there will be a little carryover. I think that it's just these guys are wanting to play, and not to mention a Sweet 16 berth on the line too.
Yeah, that's almost the hidden thing.
Yeah, exactly.
There's all this attention. Obviously, the fans, everybody in West Virginia is going to be tuning in.
Yep.
But that's the hidden prize, really, in all of this. Hey, it's a trip to the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
For West Virginia, it'd be another one, another notch on their belt, and what's been a really good run. Obviously, it would be Marshall's first. They want to set that standard.
Oh, yeah.
They want to be the only team that's done that. Do the coaches have to worry about keeping the focus there rather than not getting caught up in some of this? Because you can see both things happening. You can see Marshall maybe getting frustrated if they see things slipping away. You can see West Virginia maybe having to chase guys around if Marshall's hitting some threes, having problems there. Is that the biggest challenge for the coaches, maybe keeping their focus on the game? Yeah,
definitely. And I think when you kind of sit in the big interviews with the national media too, they're kind of poking like, hey, why haven't you guys played at this? They're kind of trying to get as many details out of this as possible. But, aside from all of that, I think it will come to that. I think both of them have very opposing styles. Press Virginia obviously trying to speed you up but turn you over, whereas Marshall was, 4 seconds on the shot clock. If you're 25 feet out and they're wide open, take the shot. So it's kind of very contrasting styles when they're almost similar in what you're trying to do against each other. But at the end of the day, I think it will be kind of a Huggins moment, trying to stay focused. Don't let one or two threes that they hit totally lose your focus. And same for D'Antoni. If the shots aren't falling, keep shooting. Shoot or shoot. That's kind of what his MO all season is. These guys just keep letting these guys do their thing. So, I think it will come down to some coaching, but at the end of the day, these two teams to win are going to have to play their ball games. Who's going to control the tempo and who's going to play their game the best, I guess.
It was kind of funny. One thing that I was thinking about, Dan D'Antoni mentioned today was he would kind of be happy maybe to trade 3s for 2s if West Virginia does get the ball inside and is able to power it in and score. But he says, hey, we come down and hit a 3, they get a 2, we get a 3, and in the end, Marshall wins. He's happy with that. Talked to West Virginia's coaches about that the day before, and their focus is, not yielding anything. Against Murray State, they weren't happy that they gave up the points inside, even though they did a tremendous job of guarding the 3 and running the racers off the line, not letting them get away, with a lot of shots out there. But they still gave up 27 points to Miller, who posted up on the inside. So, is that trade back and forth? Is that a factor in this game? Can Marshall win the game doing that?
And I think you kind of saw some of that in their game against Wichita State. As Wichita would start playing and at their peak performance, they get up 7 or 8 points playing their game, really, playing down in the post, and then obviously Frampton hitting some shots from outside. I think that was kind of a trade-off back and forth. But I think Marshall honestly they are just focused on entirely getting their game in hand. They do not care if it's somebody taking it down the lane, posting up, getting 2s. They don't care where the points come from, but they will put up shots and they will try and build that score up as high as possible. So.
Should be an interesting battle, even though it's 2,300 miles from the state's border. A lot more people, I'm sure, wish they could be here, but everyone's going to be tuning in this one. From San Diego, this is Kevin Kinder for Blue and Gold News. I've been joined with CJ Harvey of WCHS.
Always a good time.
Oh, absolutely. Looking forward to the game tonight. And whoever you're tuned for, have a good time with it. And we'll be back to report in on it after the game.
Yep.